I am thrilled to be here today to talk with you and cannot tell you how excited I am for you all to be a part of the Career Festival. I really believe that you guys are incredibly lucky to have access to such knowledge and talent, and I hope that you really take advantage of it. I am grateful that I was asked to come be a participant, and I hope that you get something out of this. Again, my name is Kris Holmes. I am author of Ignite Your Career, as you see here, and hopefully it's a book that you guys will find valuable as it's a resource that can be used throughout your career. When I really thought about what do I want to talk to you about today, I tried to put myself in your shoes, students in college, people graduating, and what I wished I really knew back then. And I came up with 3 topics that I think would have really, truly changed the trajectory of my career. And the 3 topics that I'm going to share with you today are strengths, why it's so important that you know your strengths and align your careers with them, networking, and how networking can be such a powerful tool throughout your career, and how career recruiters can be partners that help you achieve your long-term goals. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So strengths. Why do strengths matter? And really and truly, what's important about them? Well, I believe that figuring out your strengths can really be a critical step for you in determining your career options. So I don't know about you, but I think back to my days in college, and it was overwhelming. I would even say debilitating that there were so many different careers I could explore. And if you figure out your strengths and where those strengths would set you up for success, it can narrow the choices and thereby help you figure out the paths that you shouldn't go in. So that's one thing. The other thing is think about sports and think back to your high school or college days and think about the sports that you were great at, and that you could just step on that baseball field or the tennis court or dive into the swimming pool and you were going to be a superstar. And then think about those other sports that no matter how hard you worked, you were always going to be a bench warmer. And that was because your innate strengths either made you a superstar or a bench warmer. And I believe that your innate strengths in the workforce are very similar. That if you can figure out what your innate strengths are and find roles that utilize them, you will be that superstar versus that bench warmer. The other thing about figuring out strengths, man, when you are in a job that uses your strengths, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun. It's rewarding. You're successful. And coming in on this Monday mornings is never dreaded. You're excited to come in because you really enjoy what you do. And that's why strengths are so important. A couple other reasons that I think figuring out strengths can be really helpful, especially for where you are in your career. It can help you avoid some certain traps. And just to share with you 2. So one is something called false expectations. And this is something that teachers might have, peers might have, or truly your family might have. There are families out there where everybody's a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant or whatever, the family business. And sometimes they expect you to go into the family business, whatever it might be. And for some people in the family, that's fine, but it may not be for you because how you are hardwired may not set you up for success in that family business. And if you can figure out your specific strengths, then that knowledge gives you the tools and the words to share that with your family as to why going into that family business doesn't make sense. And truly, it can be a load off your shoulders, and it can help you chart your own path versus just falling into the path that's expected of you. The other way it can really help is there is something out there on college campuses called FOMO, which is fear of missing out. And this is you, and I remember back when I was in school, it was me too, looking at all my peers and being envious and being jealous and thinking there was something wrong with me because so-and-so was going to be a doctor, or so-and-so was going to McKinsey, or going to, not back then, but now Google or Amazon or big name companies. And I felt like I was missing out and I was lesser because I wasn't going where they were. Well, when you figure out your own strengths and know where you should go, it helps you realize, well, you still might be envious of your roommate or, person on your sports team because they know where they're going. It also helps you know, man, I should not go there because it doesn't align with my strengths. So it just gives you the knowledge to not feel envy and not feel like you're missing out. So now you know why strengths are important. And for me, I will tell you, if I had figured out my strengths, it would have been amazing because took me 13 years. I mean, out of college, I went to a retail training program, and first year was great. I was managing cosmetics department, loved it. Second year, I was supposed to go into an assistant buying role. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. Who does that year out of college? I went to HR and said, I don't think I want that role. Luckily enough, they had a role for me and I switched there. And then ended up going to Kellogg Business School, working for a decade in brand where I was great at parts of my job, but parts of the job were a huge grind. I made it through, but boy, were they hard. And I was by no means a superstar. It wasn't until my company was sold and I was trying to figure out what to do next that my favorite recruiter said to me, come work for me. And after a lot of self-reflection and talking to mentors, I realized my favorite part of the job was people. And I switched over to recruiting. And from day one, it felt like breathing. It felt natural. I felt guilty because it was so easy. And yet I was doing so well. I was making a lot of money. That's what happens when you're in a job that aligns with your strengths. Same thing happened to a candidate of mine, Mia, who was in marketing, kept getting lapped over. And it wasn't until she took a step back and realized, I am not that influencer and that people person. I'm the person who likes to dig into numbers and analysis. She shifted into market research. And instead of being that bench warmer, she became the MVP and superstar and got promoted. So figuring out your strengths early can help you get on the right path. So it can help you get on those paths where you're going to succeed, make the roles more fun and exciting, and set you up for long-term success. But how do you do it? So here are just 2 ways. In my book, I have 5 ways, but here are 2 ways. One is ask friends, family, coaches, professors, what do they think you're great at? What are the 1 to 2 things? And write them all down. And my guess is that there's going to be a lot of consistency. Also think of projects where you have worked on them. And where have you excelled? What value did you add? And you'll get some thoughts there of what you're really good at. There also are some assessments out there, and I'm a huge fan of those. 2 that I really like. One is called Strengths Finders, and there's some books out there. There's Discover Your Sales Strengths and a couple other ones, but they ask you, do you like A or B better? You rank yourself, and from there, they tell you your 5 strengths and different careers where your unique set of strengths would set you up for success. There's another one called You Science. Here, you play 9 8-minute computerized games. And from there, they figure out how your brain is hardwired. Again, they give you your key strengths and where you can leverage those in terms of careers. Both of these people have taken and they walk away saying, oh my God, I feel like somebody just read my diary. They are scary accurate, but they will give you real insight into you and how you're hardwired. And I think that's really important. So winding up strengths, what I want you to realize about strengths, again, why it's so important that you know them and figure them out today. how to uncover them, and that I believe the key to success in the workforce and career is to find that job and that career that leverages your unique set of strengths. So if you don't take anything else away from my entire presentation, if you got that, then I feel like it's a huge win. But I'm not going to stop here. Now we're going to go to my second thing, which is networking. And I am a huge believer that networking is really powerful. And let's talk about that. So why is it so powerful? It's just a tool, and it's a muscle that you really should be building and working on all the time. It can be a foundation for broader success in your working life. It can be, if you have built that muscle up, a critical tool for your job search if and when you need it. And it can enhance your personal life. If you network well, you're going to build relationships that transcend business and turn into friendships. So the benefits of networking, and these are some that I have encountered. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in a moment, but meaningful relationships, connections and support in your industry, mentorship and advice. As you network with people, there are going to be people you really connect with, and you want to build ongoing mentors, people who you respect, who are more senior in your industry, who can give you advice about careers and different companies. Those are really important. If you do a nice job networking, you can develop business leads. And if and when you need help with your job, if you've networked effectively, you can tap into your network at that point. So personally, I have built so many relationships over the years networking, and I love it. And it's developed new business. We at the O'Connell Group, where I work, have never advertised for business. All of the business we've gotten is because of networking. As I mentioned, I wrote my book, Ignite Your Career. And because I've networked over 25, 30 years, I had some really wonderful people who were very willing to write recommendations for my book. People like Bob Eckert, who was manager and VP and president at Kraft when I was there, who ended up his career CEO of Mattel, Rick Sear, who was president of Kraft, Mike Barkley, who was is CEO of Kind Snacks, person who was head of books at Amazon. I could go on and on and on. And these are really people who are very high up in their careers. And yet, because I have networked continuously and have great relationships with them, they were willing to do that for me, which I so appreciate. They've been references for clients. The other thing, and I'm going to take a minute talking you through this, my family has benefited from networking. So I have 3 kids, 2 who are out of college, 1 who is currently in college. They have all benefited greatly from networking. So my oldest daughter networked when she was in college to get a couple internships. One was, or she really was into music, was a radio station in the building where I work. And she went and talked to the folks there and somehow or another finagled an unpaid, but internship, which is what got her a foot in the door. Then as she was graduating from a small liberal arts college in New England, she decided she wanted to go into music in Nashville because she liked country music and she wasn't ready for LA or New York at that point. And her career center knew not what to do with her. So what she did is she reached out to her high school and her college career centers, and she asked them for every single person who had graduated from her school who lived in Nashville, independent of the industry, and she wrote 300 emails. And she told them she was moving there. She wanted to get into the music industry. She sent them her resume. She asked them if they'd be willing to talk to her and offer advice. And she had about 70 people respond. She had a bunch of informational interviews. She went to Nashville 2 or 3 times and had a bunch of informational interviews and ended up going there, having multiple interview sessions and got 2 offers. And so that was her use of networking. My middle son, I happened to be talking to a candidate who worked at Amazon, and he was telling me how great Amazon's training program was for undergrads. And I happened to mention that I had a son who was a senior in college, and I said, I don't know if he'd be interested, but if he would be, might I send him your resume? My candidate said, sure, but I'll only talk to him if I'm impressed by a resume. I will only move him on if I am impressed by our conversation. Long story short, he must have liked the resume because he talked to him. He must have been impressed with him when he talked to him because he moved him on. My son ended up going through the interview process and getting a job at Amazon and worked there for 4 years and loved it. My third son is still in college, and he's environmental and public policy. And so as he came home to St. Louis for the summer, he reached out to his high school and said, can you share with me people in St. Louis who work at environmental and public policy? And he sent emails out to all of those folks, introducing himself with his resume, saying, I would love to chat with you about any unpaid or paid internship opportunities you might have. And from that networking and those introductions, he ended up getting 3 internships. So those are examples of me and my kids networking aggressively and having it be very, very beneficial. Also a member of Pinnacle Society, got that through networking. I've gotten enormous benefits from mentorship and advice with people that I have networked with. And as I mentioned before, I feel like I have met a lot of people who I now view as friends versus business associates. Now, I acknowledge networking, a lot of people are like, I don't feel like I have connections. I don't know how to do it. I don't want to bother people. And people may not acknowledge this, but they fear rejection. And I understand that. So I'm going to tackle that one first. And people sometimes can fear rejection, especially if they had a traumatic rejection in the past. It kind of sticks with you and makes you gun shy. And I want to share, I heard at a conference a speaker whose name is Jia Jiang, and he did a TED Talk back in 2016. And I would tell you, if you have 10 minutes, go listen to him, but I'm going to give you the shortened version. So Jia, like in 2nd or 3rd grade, he said his teacher came in with this huge bag of presents. And she said, we're going to do something fun today. Everybody's going to get a present. The way you're going to get one is somebody is going to say something nice about you. And so they went through it, and everybody was saying something nice about people until there were 3 kids left. And he was one. And she was like, anybody? Anybody? Not one kid said something nice about the remaining 3 kids. And Gia was horrified, beyond horrified, and felt rejected and embarrassed. And that stuck with him for over 20 years, so much so that it got in the way of his personal life and his professional life. And he did research and went to an analysis and therapist, and realized his fear of rejection was getting in the way of his life. So he did research to try to figure out, how do I get over this? And he found something called rejection therapy, where their idea was you seek out rejection for 30 days and you desensitize yourself to the pain. And he said, I am going to do one better. So he decided to do it for 100 days, and he got somebody to video all of his efforts to be rejected. So it starts with the first day, him going to a guy and saying, hey man, can I have $100? And his palms were sweaty and he was shaking. He could barely get it out. And he got the words out, hey man, can I get can you give me $100? And as the guy was saying no, he turned and ran. And he was so scared and embarrassed that it wasn't until he watched the video that he heard the guy saying, but why do you need it? What's going on? So that first day he realized, okay, I can't run away. I got to stick with it. So the next day he went to some burger place, and he decided he was going to go up to the counter and ask for a burger refill. And so he went up to the counter and he said, hey, can I have a burger refill? And they said, a what? And he said, well, a burger refill. You get drink refills. I want a burger refill. And they said, we don't do that. He's like, but why? I would be your best customer. I would be great PR, just a burger refill. And he didn't get it, but he also didn't run away. So that was a plus. So fast forward about a week and a half in, he went to a Krispy Kreme. And he went to the drive-in window and the person said, can I help you? And he said, can you please make me Krispy Kreme donuts in the shape and color of Olympic rings? And she looked at him and he expected her to say, move on, because there's a line behind him. She said, can you show me a picture of what that looks like? And he showed her his phone. She said, can I keep your phone for a minute? She came back 5 minutes later. She's like, so it's going to take about 15 or 20 minutes. Can you wait? He's like, yeah. And he drove over to the side and waited. And about 10 or 15 minutes later, there was a knock on his window. And there she was with a box, opened it up. And there were the Olympic rings, right color, right shape, all put together. And she was so excited. She was just about jumping out of her skin. Big grin on her face. And he was like, thank you so much. What do I owe you? And she was like, you don't owe me anything. This was the most fun I've had all month. And that was kind of a turning point for him. He realized, first of all, rejection will not destroy you. You may even have fun with it. You can make it a game, and you can shift rejection into success by giving insight, answering why, how, and just learning from it. So that's what I would tell you. Don't be afraid of rejection. If you send emails out to people, worst thing that could happen is they don't respond. That's their loss. It's not yours. So learn from Gia's 100 days of trying to get rejected. So how do you network effectively? The first thing I would tell you is do not wait to start. And the second thing I would tell you is make it a two-way street. Do not make it about you, because you'll turn people off. You want to contact people via email, LinkedIn, or if it's a personal friend, via Facebook. And what you want to do is ask if they'd be willing to speak, to share their journey. You're going to ask them for advice, wisdom, their learnings. You can ask them if they just went through a job search, what was most effective, but do not ask them to help you find a job. It'll make you seem desperate and it'll turn them off. I will tell you, my daughter just told me somebody reached out to network. And she said it was a really quick call because the person called and said, can you help me get an internship? And she said, I was done, because that's just not how you endear yourself to people. And that's not what networking is about. So the other thing you can do with networking is ask if there's anybody else they recommend you speak to. That's how you build your network. Get people to introduce you to other people. And the other thing is, if you really like them, especially you want to engage them in the journey. So ask them if you can keep them apprised. And then to be respectful, ask them if you can check back in and when would make sense. Because you don't want to bug them too much, but you do want to keep them up to date. Also, you want to let them know you respect their advice and time. So write them thank you notes. They will really appreciate it. Thank them for their time, insight, advice, and connections. And the other thing I will tell you is keep track. Just keep a spreadsheet. It's really easy to do. Who you spoke to, when you spoke to them, what you spoke to them about, and then when you're going to follow up. It'll just make it so much easier for you. So when do you start networking? Now, like today. Start doing it today. And how do you do it? So here are the different groups that you have. Even if you don't think you have anybody to network with, you guys do. So you have friends and family in your industry. You have alumni from your high school, from your college, either that you're in or leaving, or your grad school when you go there. Some of you have had internships. So people you have worked with in the past, or people you're going to work with that may not be in your immediate group, but other places in the company, they're great networking opportunities. And then we'll talk about also via LinkedIn, you can network with people there. And I'm going to go into this a little bit more. So how do you activate these networks? What do you do? So as we talked about before, and this is especially as we come out of the pandemic, you want to send them an email asking for their advice and guidance. And once we're all vaccinated and can get out and about, see if they'd be willing to get coffee or talk on the phone or Zoom. The preference would be in person. If we can't do that now, see if they'd Zoom, because I believe the face-to-face is so much more powerful than just getting on a phone call. If you know them professionally or personally, you want to reconnect, then you want to network and learn from their experiences. I mean, really and truly, you're trying to learn how they got to where they got and what learnings they've had along the way. And trust me, if they're impressed by you, if they know of relevant roles, they will bring it up. You don't even need to mention it, they will. So when you talk to friends and family, these are folks, they may have known you since you were itsy bitsy. They know you, they want you to be successful, and they would love to help you on your journey, really and truly. They feel honored when you reach out to ask advice. Think about your parents' friends or your church friends or anything. They really feel good when you do. And when you succeed and they've helped, they feel a little bit of ownership. And when you talk to these folks, obviously you're talking to them professionally, but make sure you check in about their family, since that's how the connection is. So don't forget that personal piece when you talk to these folks. So alumni from your high school or college or graduate school. So alumni offices keep really good track of all the folks, and they do it because they want to know what people are doing, and they also do it because they want to keep track so that they can reach out to you potentially to support your school, either financially or other ways. Now, with these folks, you have something in common with them, some shared experience, and most people are thrilled to hear from somebody from their school. So if I hear from somebody from Kellogg or somebody who went to Tufts, like I did and is a jumbo, I am excited and I want to help them and give them advice. Some schools even have programs where alumni opt into a mentoring program. And so they've said, pick me, I want to help. Again, with these folks, ask about their experience at the common school. What were they involved in? What did they love? Who was their favorite professor? It will just connect you that much more. And again, ask about their career journey, key learnings, and what they wish they knew. People you work with currently. So this is not people in your immediate world, but other people in the company. Set up coffees, informal check-ins. I'm a big believer in following their career and celebrating their successes. When people get promotions, write them a note, send them an email telling them how excited you are. Many times as you go forward in your career, you're going to be offered career opportunities internally, and maybe you're offered two. And so people like this are great ones to ask their perspective of the implications of one move versus the other. The other thing with these folks is don't forget to also ask them how you can be of assistance to them. And finally, with this group where you're working, have an elevator speech ready in case you happen to be in the elevator with senior leadership and they say, so who are you? So make it concise and compelling, but also memorable. Again, thank these folks for their time and advice and make it a two-way street. People you've worked with at previous companies, I will tell you with these folks, you guys are so much luckier than I was when I left Johnson & Johnson or Kraft or any of the places I worked at earlier in my career. With LinkedIn and email, it is so much easier to stay in touch with folks. So again, you'll see on LinkedIn as people you've worked with in the past get promoted, share them on. As they move to new companies, check in and see how they're doing. Again, when you get opportunities internally or externally, these are great people to reach out to because they've left the company and they may know something about the new company you're going to. Again, with these folks, you've worked with them. And so if you're actively interviewing, these are great folks to tell them what type of role you might be interested in, because they may know something coming up at their current company. Again, always be appreciative of their time. And then this last group is something you might not think of, but I want you to be mindful of as you're going out into whatever industry you are. I would tell you LinkedIn is a really good tool, and you want to spend 10 or 15 minutes a day just reading articles on LinkedIn and reading the posts. And when you find posts that you like them, comment on them. And if you really like them, then what you want to do is share them to your network. And that's really powerful. People who write posts really love when you share them. And if you want to then network with that person, message them and ask them, say your recent post resonated with me and was really insightful. And I am wondering if you might be willing to spend a little bit of time with me. I am somebody junior in your industry, but I'm very impressed by your career path, and I would love to talk with you. Oftentimes, especially if you're somebody who has consistently supported them and their posts, they would be thrilled to talk to you. So this is a powerful one where you really can connect to some very senior leaders in your industry, but many people don't. So networking golden rules. Build your networking muscle. It's really important. It can be huge in terms of building your career. Another one is do ask for advice. Do not ever ask them to get you a job. Be incredibly appreciative. Write those thank you notes. Make it a two-way street. Follow up. And pay it forward as you move up in your career and other people network with you. Be open to it. Be very willing to share your knowledge and wisdom with them as well. So now we're on to the third and last topic, one that is near and dear to my heart, and one that you guys probably have not even thought about. It's not on your radar screen right now, but I just want to bring it up because I didn't have a clue when I was in your shoes, but I think it's something you should know about. Recruiters can be such huge helps, and they can be so beneficial for you throughout your career. So I have to acknowledge the recruiting industry. There are some bad headhunters out there. They're the ones who are going to call you throughout your career without knowing you, without ever speaking to you, and say, honey, do I have a job for you? And those are the ones I would tell you, I wouldn't spend much time with them. But having said that, there are some amazing executive recruiters in the industry. And I've met a lot of them. And I think the ones especially that are the specialists that focus in a certain area, so they are the experts, are phenomenal. So they can be a partner in your career, and they can be a critical lever for your job search when you have the right experience for the job. They're not going to find you a job if you're not the right fit, but boy, can they be a resource. So benefits of working with great recruiters. First of all, they can be a mentor. They can be a resource. Brian, who hired me when I switched over to recruiting, he was just that for 10 years. He never got me a job, but boy, was he a resource and a mentor and became a very dear friend. But I will tell you, I was also very helpful to him when he would call me with jobs. Even though it wasn't right for me, I would share with him, well, Joe's from this area and Sue's here and John's here and this person's not really happy. So I shared information with him and very much made it a two-way street. Great recruiters, when they're working on the job, they've been asked to fill the job. So they're working directly with the hiring manager and the human resources person, who's usually the gatekeeper. They can get your resume directly to the right people. And they also, great recruiters, I believe, should help you optimize your resume. so it represents you well. They should help you with interview prep so you know what homework you have to do so you can go in and wow the client. And they also should help you with negotiation. Having a great recruiter in your corner is, I think, a really smart play. I would tell you, take recruiter calls. And once you speak to them, you're going to know if it's a quality recruiter, if you like them, and if you can trust them. So listen and see if they want to get to know you, your background, but very importantly, your desires. What is important to you? What's critical for you? What are your goals? Because you want them to know that so that they can be a partner helping you attain them. The other thing you can do is ask other people in your industry, at your company, who their favorite recruiters are, and keep a list so that if and when you do have to look for a job, you know who to call. The other thing is sometimes your goals change. You might have an ill family member, or you might have gotten engaged, or you may have been working for an awful boss and then all of a sudden changes, or flip side. They're all different things that make you change what you want. So make sure you tell your recruiter so that they can be on the lookout. The other thing I would tell you is sometimes you will work with a not great recruiter because they happen to have a great job. And if that's the case, you will work with them. But when you send the resume to them, you tell them, I am sending you resume and giving you permission to send my resume to this company and this company only. And you should document it yourself so you know, because you want to be in control of your search. So you can connect with recruiters now. If you've had an internship, ask other people at the company where you worked who they trust, who they really like, and ask for an introduction. And that will get recruiters responding back. And if by chance, as you're graduating, you have multiple offers and want to get an industry expert's perspective, recruiters are great ones. They have the 30,000-foot view. They know the reputation. They know the cultures. So you want to contact and introduce yourself. The recruiters will not be able to get you a job without relevant experience, but they will be able to help you with advice. The key is if the recruiters are specialists in your niche area, in your focus area, man, they can be such great partners in your career. They'll give you very strong career guidance. And they really, as I mentioned before, will help you understand different company cultures, roles, career paths, everything else. So they are really important. And I would tell you, be open to finding a couple great ones. Having a great recruiter in your corner is such a smart play. So again, who do you want to find? Niche recruiter who's an expert in your field. They can give solid career advice, keep you up to date on marketplace dynamics because things are changing all the time. Insider information on company culture, things other people will not tell you. Believe me, we are frontline and we are hearing it day in and day out as people are running to and from different companies. And they also really understand long-term careers and can help you strategize. With that, I am wrapping up my presentation and I hope it was beneficial. And what I want you to remember again from my time with you is why figuring out your strengths is so important and aligning your strengths with your career path. Why I want you to start networking now and who to do it with and how to do it. And why finding a couple recruiters to have in your corner is so beneficial for your long term. I wish you all the best. Don't forget, Ignite Your Career, the book, Strategies and Tactics to Unleash Your Potential. It's available on Amazon. The other thing I will tell you is if you go to igniteyourcareerbook.com, we have resources such as coaching, resume writing, interview prep, and negotiation. And if you find yourself struggling with any of those things, we can help you. And we have a free consult to figure out which of our products would be most beneficial. And we have helped everybody from somebody coming out of college who their resume was getting no traction, and we reworked the resume and they ended up getting multiple interviews, to somebody who had had 40 interviews with no success, and we worked with him on his interview skills. And 2 weeks later, he had 2 offers, to CMOs going through the interview process and helping them score. So we can help you no matter where you are in your process. I wish you all the best with your career. Congratulations, and thanks for taking the time to listen.